Hello, my gents. Hi, guys.
Hi,
My name is Mandy.
and I'm Yolanda.
And we're the rich aunties. Two of the rich aunties were representing a group of friends. Look at us represent self-imposed representation.
It's the way it is. Feeling insecure, it's just the way it is. We don't ever act, it's just the way it is. You don't know nobody, explanations, please.
But anyways, we're a group of friends called the Rich Aunties, and
Yes.
we like to come together to make conversation that encourages change for the better.
Exactly. We are a group of strong, independent women.
Yes, queen.
Don't misquote us.
Don't use us. I like to be spoiled. I like to be taken
Loving
care
the
of.
girls. But also, we're goal driven.
Mm-hmm.
We are very strong-minded individuals,
Mhm.
and we're all talented in the different fields. But the most important thing that unites us is conversations and understanding that as friends, we always have to be there for each other, for each other's family.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Talking about family. Oh my gosh, I'm just gonna jump right into this. This is crazy. Today we're talking about how we, the two of us, dealt with grief in a
Yes.
sense.
Yes.
Of course, we're two different individuals, but I feel like the stages at which we dealt with this particular type of grief, death of a loved one, was very close. And I guess when you say as friends we're more like family, we had each other then, but still we don't know what we went through.
Exactly. Yeah. So, don't know, like, Mentor, do you want to explain, like, just in case, like, people that actually don't know, like, what really happened? Where were you when you got the news? And who did you lose? Like, take us.
Oh my god, that's crazy. Okay, anyways, I want to thank our sponsor before I share the details. I want to thank my sponsor for the custard. We love you. You know yourself. Thank you for letting us do your custard. You're the one. I feel like I'm always hesitant, and maybe I could be deflecting because I got this as I was just about to leave the house to go to work, if I'm not mistaken. So what happened is I lost my dad in 2020 to COVID-19, and I received the news just, if I remember correctly, as I was about to leave the house. But also, funny thing, in my head, I have a memory of me walking at the bus stop, like the blue bus stop, and I was so heartbroken. It felt like I just received the news. So I'm not sure. Like, I actually don't remember. I could have received the news at the bus stop and gone back inside the house. But when I received the news, what I did is I remember getting back to the house because as soon as I was told, my sister is the one who tried to keep calling me. But if you know me, I hardly answer calls. So I wasn't picking up, and I was like, what does she want? And I'm so scared of my sibling. To me, she's like a parent. So I thought maybe she just wanted to talk about school, all that jazz. So when she eventually texted, she was like, we need to talk. And I didn't answer. She sent a voice note saying, Dad is gone. And to me, like, where is he gonna go? That man is my man. Nobody's gonna take my man. Like, are you crazy? Ghost people, whatever. So I didn't take it seriously. To me, I felt like for a few hours it was just unconsciously happening around me, and other people were actually being shocked, or maybe I was in shock too, to the point that I could not process the whole thing. So it's like, oh, he's probably there. He's fine. He's gonna come back. So that was the first stage. How did you receive the news?
Well, I actually remember, like, I was at work. I was on set working on a field. So I actually lost my dad to COVID as well. And I remember that week, like, it was such a heavy week. Like, every day I would literally just get home and cry because he was on oxygen for a couple of days. And just the hassle of that time, it was so hard to, like, get oxygen tanks as well, like, especially in Zimbabwe. So we had to what they go from like literally like
They had to hustle it.
bro, we had to hustle. Like I literally went as far as trying to get someone to send an oxygen tank from South Africa and to Dubai.
Oh my goodness.
So that whole week was such an emotional week for me. And I was also working on set, like I was working on a movie. So I would be at work for like 12, 14 hours every day. And I was so hands-on, like I had to be present every minute, every second. So it was so hard. It was like it almost felt like I was leaving, but like not actually leaving. I don't know if that makes sense.
Like you were
So
like in a haze.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like things would happen so fast. Like at work, I would have lunch, but after eating lunch, I'm just like, what's the purpose of eating lunch? Like, why is this food good? Like, you know. But so this is something that I've actually never spoke about. But like, I actually started mourning my dad before he died. Like I just had a feeling. Like there's one day I literally got home and I cried. Like I bawled my eyes out. It was just like, God, you have to remember him. Like God, you have to heal him. And I just cried. But in the crying, I felt hopeless. You know?
Really?
Yeah, like it's so strange. Like I felt helpless. Like I felt like I was crying for comfort. You know, yet he was still alive, but like deep down, like
You sort of you were letting go and
exactly. So I mourned before he even died.
Right.
That on the day I got the news, to be honest, like I didn't cry. Like that whole
funny
week.
story. This has taken me back. I remember when you needed an oxygen tank, you texted me. And I don't think you texted me because you wanted my help. I think you texted me because you were mourning. Because the way you were like, you literally cried in the text. I'm like, but he's still on the tank. Like, well, he's still on oxygen. It hasn't.
Yeah.
It was a lot. Like, I just got perspective on it now.
Yeah. So fast forward, it happened. I was at work. I think it was around 7, 8
Who
p.m.
told you?
So what happened is, like, I figured, like, because we were going back and forth with my relatives, my aunties, they would always update us that, oh, I end up the evening visit and it's okay. But that day, everything was just so weird. So I remember Pastor Andrew called me, like my pastor, he called me and he was like, Yolanda, where are you? I'm coming to pick you up. So the moment he called me, I knew. And then right after that, my dad here called me as well, like our godparents. Dad called and he was like, Yolanda, something is happening with my wife. Can you come? So there and there, like, I knew that something was wrong. So they got to sit at the same time and I'm like, it was so weird. I'm like, why are you guys here at the same time? And then my pastor didn't actually say anything. But my dad was like, my wife is in trouble and I need your help. And I was like,
What am I gonna do? Am I 911?
exactly. Like it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So on our way, like our pastor didn't actually, like my pastor didn't actually tell me anything. So like on his way to the house, like we picked up one of my really close friends, and then we also then picked up my sister as well. So I texted my brother. Like nobody knows actually, but like in the car, I checked my brother. I was like to Faz, I was like, what time did it happen? And then T was like, it happened in the afternoon. So I knew even before we got to their house. So by the moment we got to their house, like I already knew, like we sat down, he spoke to us, it was just like, your dad has gone to be with the Lord. And my sister started crying and I was just there like staring at him. So even his wife then, like his late wife then, like she literally like kept staring at me. I think she was waiting for me to cry. So she kept like, she was in shock. Why am I not reacting? Because I was so numb. I was just like,
I think you're going through like another stage of grief, like sort of.
yeah. I was like, okay. And then they took us home. My sister was crying. I was okay. The following day,
Guys, good flying used to stop making us look poor. We look like those kids in Africa always asking for food on the TV. No, it's been running around everywhere.
winter is minutes.
Winter is exactly.
Yeah, so I was numb the whole time. And I remember like Lady Pastor just holding my hands. And she like the only word she literally said was, Yolanda, it's okay, like you can cry, it's okay to cry. But in my head I was just like okay. I had to be strong.
You could, I think,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like I had to be strong.
And I remember how people mentioned you not crying so much. I think people were like, Yolanda needs to cry because if she doesn't cry now, she might cry in the future.
Later on. Yeah.
Funny story, my side was a little bit different. Girl, I was leaking everywhere. Like, I would be standing in the sink, washing the dishes and like the trees. Are you serious right now? But I mean, so did you cry before? Did you ever get a chance to cry?
I cried before.
Oh, you did?
The funny thing, yeah, because like I was overwhelmed trying to get oxygen tanks and like just juggling work, and it was my birthday week too. So I remember on my birthday I actually got to work, and then I was like to the director, you know what? I'm here physically, but my mind is not here. My dad is in hospital, is on oxygen right now, and we're like, get the day off. Girl, it's fine. Go home, rest. So I went home, and it was like the worst birthday ever. Honestly, like, yeah, I cried before he actually died because I was just like, God.
But I don't know how have your birthdays been since then.
They've been so different. They've been so like. I don't have the energy to celebrate my birthday anymore. Like this year, I didn't even do anything.
Yeah,
last year, if it was not for you guys, like I wouldn't have done
anything. We put in all the work, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I need to do something. And she dragged everyone, and I like that. I think she just want, but of course you can't forget. Maybe she doesn't want you to forget, but she sort of wants you to separate his passing and your birthday.
Yeah.
But it's like impossible.
It's just because it's like 2 days right after. It's like, oh my gosh. Like you're reliving the emotions, you're reliving everything that you went through like during that time.
Griff is such
I I remember calling you like right after, and I didn't know what to say.
Do you want to know how I found out? I found out from Kuti. I didn't find out from you, but of course I had to stay shocked when you finally told me. So Kuti, one of our other friends, one of the rich aunties, texted me. She's like, guys, Yolanda's dad is normal, blah 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 blah. I didn't have the words or anything. Where was I? Oh, I was at my aunt's. So I sat down. I was supposed to be feeding the dog, and I was like, I don't know how to put this into proper words. I was like, God, why would you do that? Like, bad things should happen to me, but they shouldn't be happening to other people. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that to Yolanda. Like, what has she done to you? And I guess I was so upset. I didn't know what to do at the same. Like, it was so hard in the sense that. So my mom, I've never met your dad, never. But my mom met my impression was like, oh, parents, but like they're so together, like they are so put together. And now I was like, so are you going to why would you unput people who are so put together? Because my mom emphasized the idea that they came to see her together. So why would you be doing that to Yolanda's mom? And for me, I love food, guys. I was like, I'm gonna cook. So my first instinct was to cook something for you and Drew. I don't even remember what I made, but it didn't make sense. I remember what I made, it didn't make sense. And by that time, my relationship with God was, I think it had moved past blaming God. And I think that the other thing is that for me, ever since my dad's death, it only dawned on me last year that he's not coming back. End of 2021. Otherwise, I'd been hoping he's coming back. The whole of so I didn't have enough space, but I'm so glad I wasn't your only friend then, because if I was going to depress you. That is the truth. I was literally going to depress you because I was upset with God. I was upset with myself. and I was upset with my dad for letting me down.
Dude, and like being upset with God is like a whole different. That's a whole video
Conversation.
and it's on. But I want to know, like, for you, like, how did you? Because I remember calling you, right? Like after I read about the news, and I was just on the call, and like I literally didn't know what to say. Like I just remember praying. I was like,
You
Mandy,
prayed for me.
like I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Let's just like. I felt so hopeless because I didn't understand the emotions you're going through.
I actually wasn't going through so much. I guess, wow, this is, we need therapy more than a YouTube video. That's what we need. So, when you called me and you prayed for me. I think that was a defining moment. Literally, you and Tahila are the only two people who, we have the balls to call me because everybody was sort of going around in eggshells and like we don't know how she's gonna react. Is she okay? So nobody was talking to me at home. Like I was staying with my family, my homestay family. They were scared to unravel me or to trigger me, but you can't trigger someone who's mourning. They're already triggered.
Yeah.
So nobody was talking to me. Nobody was calling or everyone was just like texting me. Are you okay? Can you do anything? Or someone would just come drop something by the door, like, oh, I left something for you at the door. See you soon. I'm like, really? So you called me and you said a word of prayer that was really nice. I guess I just needed someone to talk to. It was nice to hear someone's voice. Even my own mom hung up on me. she was like, I don't know what to do with you. Like you were his person. And Tahila also called me a couple of days later and he was like, hey, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I feel better now. I've talked to Yolanda, I've talked to you, and I feel good. So I'm grateful. People were giving me a lot of money, but I would have enjoyed the quiet time with somebody. Or just like having someone hold my hand during that time. Because I was literally just eating and sleeping. Eating and sleeping.
And I remember, like, honestly, I actually wanted to come over. But then, like, I was told that no. Like,
who told you that?
At that time. The people that you
like,
no, like, give her time.
Like, I got so much time, guys. I almost ran mad.
So it was so hard. Like it was
terrible. I remember I didn't know what day it was, where it was, and even people showed up for the Zoom meeting as well.
Yes, I remember those.
That was amazing, and I guess other people said a lot of things too. Tino, Taku, Munashe. They said, but I remember one thing that stuck with you was like, if you need anything, come to my place. So much that I was at a bus stop when I eventually came to your place. I was at a bus stop and I wasn't contemplating suicide. I'm not suicide. Well, I was, but anyways, I was there and I was like, I don't deserve to be alive. Like, everybody sacrificed everything for me and I came here. And I remember, funny thing, I remember even your facial expression on that video call. You were so bubbly and you were like, if you need anything, come to my house. And I was very close to your house. So I wanted to go kill myself at King's Park. I was not going to kill myself. But it was so cold because this happened in December. And then I remember I came to your house, I think around January. So I was at a bus stop and I was like, I'm going to end this. I even had rope. I had written a note. To the table at home. And then a part of me was so scared to freeze to death so much that I was like, the closest house to me is Yolanda, so I'm gonna go there. So I texted you and I was like, can I come over? You're like, yeah, sure, come over. And then I got on the bus and then I came here. I didn't tell you that, but I was just like, oh, it's so cold outside. And then you gave me hand warmers. I didn't tell you why it was so cold outside. Oh man. I guess, I loved my dad so much. I know everyone loves their dad, but like my dad said he didn't, when I was born, I was his life.
Your daddy's little girl.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He used to pack my lunch, used to come to school, he used to do everything for me. So much that I didn't know where else to go.
Right. That's so
And I had to grow up very quickly.
Girl.
How was it for you? Growing up quickly.
It
How did
was
it happen?
tough. Like, you know what? Like, my dad and I are best friends. I'm not gonna say we're best friends because
Oh, I
he's
love
6
that.
feet under and I'm still his big. Like, my dad and I are best friends. Like, everyone at home knows that. People know that. Yollo and Mandi. Like, we're like this. Like, I got a boarding place for 2.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, I'm gonna miss you, don't go. And then I remember coming back to Canada and my dad was like, why don't you go to use it? If you go to use it, I'll get you a Jeep.
He was willing to go to that
He was. And at the airport, like, he cried. Screw this, men don't cry. Like, my dad, like, he cried. Like, I literally thought, like, he was trying to be strong. And everyone came, like, my family came because they were like, we're going to support my dad. Not necessarily me, but my dad, because they understood the bond that my dad and I had. So it was so hard because, like, my dad and I, we, like, in as much as we were so far apart, but we had the longest conversations. Like, our phone calls were 5 hours, sometimes 6 hours. Sometimes we'd even sleep on the call. Or my mom would sleep on the call. My mom
Did you
would
ever
like,
blame yourself? Sorry.
a part of me, yes. Because, like, I tried. I tried to get oxygen tanks. I tried to get people in Dubai, people in South Africa. But there's always, like, a part of me that says, had I reached out earlier, or tried to push the process faster, or advised my mom to take him to the hospital earlier, maybe he would have survived. Like there's just like a part of me, but also like I tried. Like I reached out to everyone I knew. I reached out. I was like, guys, can I get an oxygen tank?
Okay.
I'm
I
willing
remember
to
you
pay
reached out to me here in Winnipeg, right?
whatever amount. Like I didn't know. Like I didn't know what to do with myself, and it was so hard because like my dad and I, like we spoke about everything.
I know. I saw some of your texts. I was like, ah. I thought I was close to my dad until I saw their text. I was like, these guys.
He was the
used to
squad
gossip.
friend.
And,
My way.
and they were like knee deep in gossip.
We would yo Ninky. Make up your Ninky. That's hard. Then my mom would be like, guys, I should not and we would just laugh. Like anyway, like we would laugh so hard because she like like our 4 hours calls would literally go from a business talk to father-daughter talk to gossip to business partner to everything. And I miss that. Like I would run everything by him. I'm thinking of doing ABCD.
And then you just, and I feel like I miss that too. My dad used to bless everything. Not like, oh, I bless him, like, but it's, if he was like, oh, cool, yeah, I love that idea. And as soon as he said that, girl, I was on the run, and that idea would take off. Not because of outside approval or anything, just because
You had your dad's
my
approval.
dad's approval. He got my back like a backpack.
Don't!
And that man got me so wow, and I was like, wow.
Like he would move mountains.
Exactly. So much that now I guess the growing up, being a big girl too, is now I feel so dizzy in a sense. Because I'm like, what am I supposed to do now?
I know, like
Who do I tell? Who do I tell that I'm pursuing this? And I guess the other thing is that my dreams, I don't know if your dreams have been feeling that way too. I guess trying to redefine them. Have they been feeling a little bit empty without him?
so much, like so much. Like my dad and I, we believe that one day I'm going to be either on the Miss Universe stage or on the Miss World stage.
I believe that too.
Amen. So like we always dreamt of going international. And it's so funny, like whenever I'm low, I don't know, like you would sense it somewhere somehow, and you'd always say, "My Miss World, how are you? Good morning, Miss World." You know, say, "Nasingarot, Yolanda." Like he fueled my dreams so much that after losing him, like I felt naked. Man, it took me so much. Like up until now, I'm even trying to like put all the pieces to Yolanda back together because it felt like, you know, like going to Miss Intercontinental last year, it was not because I wanted to, I really wanted to represent Zimbabwe and I wanted to achieve, but for the most part this was my dad's dream.
Exactly.
You know, right now he would be so proud. He would move mountains for me just to be on this platform.
Exactly.
It was like, let me make you proud from heaven. So I did Miss Intercontinental because I was like, Dad, you believed in me. You believed that one day we're gonna go international and this is the time. You might not be here,
but this is for you.
And it was so hard. It was so hard, Mandy. Like doing Miss Intercontinental, I cried every day. Like I would literally come home from work, from practice, and cry.
Guys, Yolanda's feet got so swollen during that time. Was it stress?
It was, and those are things that like nobody knows. Like I got to boot camp, and the first 7 days of Miss Intercontinental, I couldn't put on heels. Like I would put on heels for breakfast. As soon as I get to my room, I would remove them because my feet were swollen from stress, anxiety, preparation. Because I was also juggling, trying my own to make sure that my wardrobe was perfect. Paying for my flights, sorting out my wardrobe, making sure that here I have money for rent,
and
working, juggling.
I know, like, if Dad was here, you wouldn't have to do that.
No.
I wouldn't have had to do all that either. One thing is that my dad was my ambassador.
Right?
He would go to my siblings and shake the money out of them. But now I had to learn to communicate, to do everything by myself.
True. Like you grow up, it forces you to mature so fast. Like you take up your dad's shoes.
Yeah. And those are not small shoes.
Those, oh my god, they're like size, bruh.
Imagine you're wearing a size 6 and you're all of a sudden in size 12.
Size 13.
Or size 30. Exactly. It's not the men. It's 13.
Because you're the only, like, you understand your dad's dream, you understand your dad's vision. Because your dad's a little girl, he shared everything with you.
Yeah.
So you know how much he treasured certain things, and you want to try by all means to make sure that those things are achieved or those things come to life. So you have to, in as much as you might have older siblings, but somewhere, somehow, you just have to stand in those shoes. Like, and everyone is looking up to you. Everyone is wondering how you're feeling, how you're doing.
Exactly.
You know, so like, there's so much pressure.
And yeah, I guess for you, it was also, I also added to that pressure. I remember making a funny statement that now I guess wasn't so funny. That Zimbabwe, let's not worry about anything. Yolanda is taking our problems away. Like, because you literally have the flag of Zimbabwe, and it felt like we were just giving it to you at that point. And guys, grief is just unbearable. Now I want to cry. The thing is that I cried so much. But these days I try to make conversation with Dad as if he was there, like, dude, today this and this happened. I miss you so much. I can't believe you left me to do this and that.
Right. Of course. And check if our cameras are still recording. Yes, 28 minutes. Okay. One more question, Mandy, is, like, you know, during the process when you just receive the news, right? Like everyone is texting you, everyone is calling you, so you sort of feel like a warmth. You know, you sort of feel like, oh my god, like people people do love you. But then like a week or two after, there's like that silence. How did you deal with that? How did you navigate life after 7 days of, you know?
excuse me, sorry. So I just I feel like I jumped towards like when I came to your place. That was like after 7 days. It was really getting to me. I was really going crazy. So before, like when everyone was texting me, everything seemed fine. And guys, I was a money making machine. Like those 7 days, I made more money than I've ever made being employed anywhere. So I was fine. I was happy. I was budgeting. Like but as soon as that silence started to creep in, that's when I became suicidal. So I didn't become quiet, but I felt alone. Because everyone in the household, like all the kids I was staying with, their parents were there. And I remember my homestay dad once made a comment pre-Christmas, because my dad died after Christmas, that you might never know, maybe I might die next week. And funny thing, my dad actually died next week. So I was feeling like I feel like someone had prophesied, and I'd accepted a negative prophecy on my life. And now, so it felt extremely alone. My mom didn't understand. My mom, even today, she says that I don't know how to understand your grief because you were his daughter. You're not my daughter. Like I was my dad's trophy. He was a king to me, and I was his little princess. It was supposed to be like that forever because we found our parents here. I feel like we should leave them here, in a sense. And I never expected him to go anywhere. To me, my father was gonna be moral. He was like everything I ever needed. So much that when that silence crept in, I wanted to be with him, in every way possible, even in death. So much that I couldn't like after that 7 days I was done. So what I did to help myself is work. I remember 2021 I published a total of 9 books that are not mine. I started a YouTube channel, I started a podcast, I was busy. And by the way, I was working full time, and at this point, I'd already taken up my bills by myself.
Wow.
So I was that girl. Everything was work. I was not giving time to anyone. And guess what? I was dating left, right, and center. I was busy, a booked and busy girl. Yeah. But I also realized in all that I was taking up all these things not because I loved them, but because I was trying to replace my dad.
It was an escape zone.
How did you deal after that?
You know, like I feel like that's something that people don't actually talk about. Like during the grieving process, oh my god.
I tried. The way I tried to
it's not working on my time. During the grieving process, you know, like you're surrounded by people. There's so much love. Everyone is so concerned and stuff. But like just after you bury someone, like everyone goes back to their normal routines. People are back to work. People are back to school. So it really feels empty. And I believe that's when the actual grief starts. You know, when you're like, oh my God, I am alone. You know, what am I going to do with myself? Like, I remember right after my dad passed, like after a couple of days, I had to put my mom in a hotel because I was just like you can't be home for now. So funny thing is, my mom got admitted to the same hospital my dad, I think it was like the previous day. Yeah. And I think it was the stress, and then she also had COVID too. Stress and all that. So she was in the hospital. And then the day,
funny story, this COVID, did your dad get the vaccine prior?
he did.
So, this is a very controversial topic because those vaccines were not good for our parents. Because they didn't give them the Pfizer. We didn't get Pfizer.
No, they got.
I think Johnson & Johnson.
There's one in Canada somewhere.
Exactly. It was refused here in Canada as well as in the States, and they took those vaccines straight to Africa. And our dads, and So I've read the stats on this. I'm not just joking. If you want, I can give you the reading on it.
Yeah.
So men who were pre-diabetic or with diabetes or anything were at higher risk of getting COVID if they already, but if they got these vaccines, they were even at a higher risk of dying. And my dad passed away, I think 2 weeks after he had gotten his vaccine. So I'm not saying anything, I'm not preempting, but there is an error. And why were they refused in First Nation countries?
True.
Yeah. So all these things were to look at. It's not a theory. It's not anything. This thing killed a lot of men in Africa, and it's not right.
No, like, girl, it was so tough. It was so tough. Like,
Anyway, yeah.
yeah, my mom usually left her hospital room, went to see my dad.
They were together in the same hospital.
Yeah, they were together. She got admitted in the same hospital, and she was in hospital like throughout the whole process. So even the day they buried him, my mom literally left the hospital, went to the site, and then came back to the hospital again. So it was so tough that even like when she then went back home,
It was a living nightmare.
it was.
Girl. I done cried those tears. But funny thing, I cried about it the whole morning today. At work, my client was like, "Are you okay?" And then she held me, like this 90-year-old lady held me. And she was like, "You're gonna be okay." I was like, "Are you sure?"
Oh
But you know, I didn't know that detail that your mom was in hospital too.
yeah, so we were dealing with like double emotions because I'm like, dad is gone. Is mom gonna follow through? You know, like she had COVID and she was in hospital, so I was just like what's happening? You know, so after that, like I had to put on a hotel because I was just like, you really need time because my mom didn't even grieve too. Like it's so funny, like she actually did cry. Like how one word was always it as well, like a phrase is it as
She
well.
said that to me, and she keeps saying it all the time. It's
She
crazy.
does.
Like, it is well, my child. I remember I sent her a text message, and then she sent a voice note with such a happy tone. It is well. Take care of yourself. And then she focused on me so much that I was like, okay.
Yeah, and that's been her bigger plan. Now it is well. So just dealing with that, Mandy, and yeah. And also I went back to work after a week because I didn't feel safe with my own emotions. I didn't feel safe with my sister's emotions because then like my sister was on a holiday break, so she moved in with me. I didn't feel safe with her emotions. I didn't feel safe with my mom's emotions. So my mom and Drew, they're very expressive. Like they cry, whereas I had to be the man,
Strong one.
I had to be the strong one. I had to constantly call, reassure them, but those calls were hard because I was reassuring them, but also I was breaking
Down.
inside. You know, I had to be strong for myself and for like, I had to assure my mom that I'm okay and Drew is okay. And that's one promise. I said, do not worry about Drew. As long as she's here with me, she is fine. So I had to go an extra mile to actually like, prove it to her that, hey, don't worry, I got her. Like, I got her.
But who were you assuring about you?
That's the thing. Like, I was working dead. If that makes sense. Like, I was just overworking. I'd go to work 12, 14 hours. Like, I remember the day I went to work. I got so many hugs and cards and roses.
And you were
My wife sent me
refusing.
roses.
So she was refusing those condolence messages?
Oh my god, to date, like I hated condolence messages. I hated them so much that I didn't want people to reach out. Like I didn't want to see any text messages of, oh, I'm sorry, what. Like I wanted encouragement messages, so I posted it, and I apologize if anyone felt offended.
You posted it in a
But-
light pink, I remember.
Yeah, I posted it and I said, guys, please do not send any condolence messages. I just want encouragement messages. So that was so hard up until today. Like, it's so hard to receive those messages because I feel like is he here? You know.
I get what you mean.
Mm.
But in a sense, I feel like you're actually refusing yourself the process.
I did. I refused myself the process and it got to me.
In what way?
It got to me, I think, when I traveled back home last year for his memorial, because we were not able to travel for the actual funeral. I traveled back home for the memorial. I couldn't make it on time because the airline lost my luggage. So
Yeah.
I know. So I was at home it was closure. I was at home for a couple of months, and to be honest, like those months, I actually, I never went to the grave because I couldn't. I went home for the longest, but I left. I
But
couldn't.
you didn't visit him.
No, I couldn't.
But how was your routine at home? How different was it?
Oh
without
my
him?
gosh! So I overworked myself
You were not replying to any of our texts.
because I was working. I overworked, not because I wanted to.
But because you were
Yeah.
trying to.
And then also he had shared his vision with me. So I wanted to implement it.
Into the boom.
Yeah, I felt like he had passed on the baton stick to me. So I was hands-on. Every department, I was hands-on. Like, I would work. And then also I wanted to give my mom time to actually grieve. So I would overwork myself so that she gets time to rest.
Oh my God.
So it was not a vacation for me. It was actually working. So yeah, but it meant do you feel like you grieved enough?
I don't think there's ever grieving enough.
True.
I guess there are moments when I do feel I need his presence more than other moments.
Right.
So for me, grief, I feel like I'm growing around it now. At least I'm letting people hold me. I'm letting people, because before, unlike you, I wasn't able to vocalize that I don't need you to hold me. So I took those messages, yes, and I let them hug me for such a moment, but I didn't allow anyone into my space until last year.
Wow.
Because nothing was supposed to be as close to me because it was his space.
Right.
So, nothing, nobody, I would fight off everything and everyone. So much that I don't think we're gonna grieve enough. I don't know,
True.
we're just gonna be adults with gray hair going, my God.
Yeah. Also, my other person is, I guess, and this is something that I also have been struggling with. I know it happened when you're so far from home.
Oh my God.
And you're not used to seeing your dad every day in person. I mean, you would speak over the phone,
yeah.
but not necessarily in person. Do you think that if it had happened whilst you were in Zim,
It wouldn't have happened if I was with them. That's for sure. So my dad was not on insulin, but we used to take his blood pressure, and we used to monitor his food intake and everything. So when it happened, he was alone and dehydrated. If I was there was no alone.
right.
And there was no dehydration. He was going to have food because I love food. I was going to make sure there's something. He's eating the right food and all that jazz. But he was alone, and just wouldn't have happened. I don't see it happening. In what world would it happen? You're not gonna die if I'm here. You're not. That's it. I'm that kind of a person. It just won't happen. No, it wouldn't have happened. Yeah, just like a plant. If you water it, you take care of it, which is exactly what I was doing. I feel like my dad felt abandoned. He just didn't know how to put it into words either. So the other thing is, as Africans, it's not even an African thing. I was pursuing my dreams, and he thought this is what I wanted. But in the pursuit of my dreams, I forgot I had family. So much that he must have felt alone. He didn't die because he was sick. Of course, yeah, there's that COVID thing happening and all that. But he would have lived if I was at home. That's for sure. Like, I'll put money on that.
Do you blame yourself to a certain extent, or are there moments when you feel like
Yeah, I guess so. I blame myself to a large extent. Yeah, he wouldn't have died. My dad loved me so much that I guess he also went for too long without seeing me. He felt neglected, he felt alone. There wasn't any reason to leave. So the other thing is I feel like you can feel someone letting go. He let go because he thought I was letting go. But I was not letting go. I was just trying to survive here as well. I was just trying to find my footing. I wasn't letting go.
did you get treatment like prior? Or
No, so you know Zim. They were like, so my brother got to him, found him and everything, and took him to the hospital. They were like, oh, we're taking $70 to test for COVID. I was like, so my brother needed the money from me. But to me, I thought it was just another attention scan. I was like, really? Yeah, really need money from me. I was like, okay. And by the time I sent the money, I guess it was late. Because people in Zim again don't tell you how grave these things are. I feel like our parents are trying to protect us. My parents are. Now I know though that by the time my parents ask for anything from me, it is their last option. Before I thought they just used to, because it was how it was, they wanted attention and all that. They didn't tell me things were getting bad. That, it's really bad, the farm is not making as much as it used to, like the businesses, the mutual funds we invested in, we don't know where the money is, the government is taking all the money. Somebody, not the government, but somebody was taking the money somewhere. So by the time I did something, it was sort of too late. Do you blame yourself?
girl, and I mean to a certain extent, but also like, you know what? I hate it when people back home don't really tell us like the
What's happening,
situation
the
at hand.
situation.
Like they'll tell you something, but it's not 100%. Like they'll tell you, oh yeah, he's sick, but he's okay. But they won't tell you, good to know he's sick, but he's actually in hospital. You know, because they're trying to protect you, and I hate it because you're like, had you told me this earlier, I would have worked on a plan.
Exactly.
Had I known earlier, I would have executed A, B, C, and D.
My parents are very comical in a sense. So to me, during all those calls when they used to call me and be like, haha, we need this and that, it looked so funny to me that I labeled it as attention seeking because it seemed like they just wanted my attention. So much that when it became grave, I didn't know it was grave.
Right.
And they were always trying to protect me. Even now, I found out my nephew is not feeling well, but nobody told me. And the person who told me, I'm not related to that person. You know, those people who just text you on WhatsApp sometimes. Hi, how are you? When I bring a Christmas bro, boss, or whatever. One of those people, and I'm waiting. It's been 3 weeks. I'm waiting for my mom to tell me if I'm feeling well.
And it's so heartbreaking.
It is really heartbreaking.
Like it's so heartbreaking. I remember 2 days before my dad died, like I called him and he was on oxygen, so I couldn't hear him clearly. But the only thing he said was, "Yolanda, and then I had my mom saying, don't tell them. And I froze. And then I just said, Daddy, don't worry, we'll be fine. I'm praying for you. Everyone
So
is
by the
praying
time
for you. People
my
are
dad was
praying
taken to the
fasting for
hospital,
you.
there was no speech coming out. Like that man could not even talk. I was like, why did you wait that long, you guys? Why did you do that?
There's also that guilt. That guilt of, oh my gosh.
But funny thing,
Yeah.
I know it. I feel guilty, but the person it eats up the most is my brother because he's the one who found him. That man is never gonna be the same. he saw him in. You can't see your parent in their weakest moment like that.
Yeah, true.
It's life changing forever.
It is.
And he has blamed himself ever since then. For me, it's just so far. The only time I saw him was in a casket. After that, for my brother, he saw him when he couldn't talk. He had to lift him off the bed. Like there was no talking, there was no walking. He needed oxygen. So they needed a COVID test. But then Zimbabwe, they knew they could see he was not breathing. I don't know, and they were like, "Here we get COVID tests for free. I've got a bunch of them in my apartment for free, but $70 to do the swab."
And it's funny you say that your brother like saw the whole process, and it's the same thing that actually happened to my brother. Like he saw the whole process from dad being good to him not being able to do anything, getting help to even bath, and then all of a sudden. And now I understand the bond and the way he's so overprotective over my mom. Like nobody can move him away from my mom. No one. They have tough love. like I don't understand.
It's giving gangster love.
It's giving it's really giving gangster love. It's really giving. I don't understand. It's gangster love. They love each other to the core, men. But it's like they don't tell each other, I love you. But they look out for each other. It's like it doesn't make sense. Like my mom would be there.
What do you mean?
Like my mom, like Tia no not Mama. Chimbonda Maria Cat. But you need to get and then my mom would be like, okay, but
exactly. Like it's the same for my brother.
Yeah. And it's like, but you look at what you guys say. But
I'll tell it. My mom is
I'll tell it. But and then my brother is talk about my mom, say anything about my mom, he will come for you.
Exactly. My brother blamed himself for months, and you see, I don't know. So the thing I was telling me, like, so he ended up having an accident with my dad's car. Because he was just blaming himself, and he'd go on these long drives, like, I shouldn't have lived, I should have been there, blah, blah, blah. So much that there's no coming back from
it's so hard. You know how they say there's also like stages to grief. There's like a denial stage, and then there's like an angry stage, and then there's an acceptance stage. What stage are you at?
What? Did you just ask? I did not expect that. I didn't go somewhere like. So the other thing is, I don't think you're at a stage. You move from stage to stage. I don't know if that makes sense. So for me, I never really finish a stage. I always come back to some of the stages. Sometimes I'm like, I cannot believe you're gone.
I know.
I literally deny it. I'm like, okay, let us stop this. And then I come back, and then I'm like, I'm so angry. And then, who am I angry with? I become angry at sometimes I even blame Yolanda. On a good day, I blame everybody. If you are in my way and I'm feeling anger, and that is whatever stage we are at that point, you are also getting the blame. Everybody. I don't know. And sometimes I accept. I'm just like, but I guess it is what it is. And then I guess that's how I become productive, because I move from these stages, and I'm never at any of them for too long. So I'm productive enough to accept it and to pay my bills and whatever. And sometimes I'm like angry enough, and then that's okay, and I move on to the next stage. What stage are you at?
That's hard. I think from like early this year to mid this year, I was at that angry stage where I was angry at him. I was angry at my dad. I was like, what happened to all the plans that we had? You walking me down the aisle, graduation, we planned your arrival, everything. Dad, so who's gonna do this for me? Who's going to, like, I was so angry at him, and that's one of the reasons why I actually could not visit his grave. Like, I was so angry with him, but not only him, I was also angry with God.
Yo! Maybe we're going to do a part 2, guys, about being angry with God, because God. You know what we got.
My relationship with God was like this.
It was shaking.
It was like hanging.
Mine was going to be like, I got your pen and started threatening God. And then I was like, if by tomorrow I do not feel better, I'm coming to heaven and be begging all the angels.
You have to beg Angel Michael.
That's Angel Michael. I was coming to beg you to put you on fire.
And that phase is so real. I was angry with God. I was so angry. I was so angry that meant I stopped going to church for a while because of that.
She hasn't gone back though.
Like, no, now I have. Now I'm like, devil. I'm a child of God. You are under my feet for a reason.
Exactly.
No weapon formed against me shall prosper. 1,000 might fall on my right, 10,000 on my left, but none will come near me. I am the apple of God's eye. My daddy is a king, so that makes me a royal priesthood.
Amen.
Like, I stopped going to church, and I apologize to my pastor if you're watching this. I honestly don't have bad blood with you, but
So the thing is,
and I couldn't vocalize it. Like, I couldn't tell him. I just
told God you're angry with him.
no, for the longest time, like I would literally say, God, like, Mari, you know, if my dad was here, the situation would have been okay.
Exactly.
I'm like, why am I suffering? I'm like, you took my dad, so this has to work. I was so angry, Mandy, angry. I got to a point where at times, like, I would literally just wake up and say, Lord, I thank you for today. Amen. Oh, God bless our food. Amen. Oh, Lord, you're going to sleep right now. Just pray for protection. Amen. Like, it was so hard to pray. It was so hard to believe that it's the same God that works miracles.
Oh my God, that was crazy. I went through that stage and I said, pray for me. Do you remember? I was just like, just pray for me. Like, I don't need anything else. Just pray for me in my
Yes. Prayer, guys, like, prayer changes things.
It does.
Prayer,
But now I remember being at that stage when I couldn't. So I had that time when I couldn't pray. And then I got to a stage when I could talk to God, but I was like in an angry manner. So I used to stay like in South Point, these suburban areas.
the boozy.
I would get out. I'm sure people thought I was crazy. I would get out and present the waiter. I would stand at the end of my landlord's driveway and I'd go until someone would come out of the house and go, are you okay? And I'm like, I hate you, God, I hate you. Like, you can't do this to me. And by then, like, things were really toughening. I had to pay people, and then, like, my salary wasn't enough. People were expecting their salaries. I didn't know that you could have contractors then, like, business-wise. Because my dad used to do these things. Like, he used to help out with salaries, and he'd be like, oh, pay everyone in them, and all that jazz. And after screaming and going, I hate you, God, everybody now is looking at me outside their windows. We're like, okay. Like, this one lady who actually told my homestay little sister that, is she okay? Like, she's so brave. Sometimes she just comes out and then she just stands over there. But like, I'm not standing, I'm having a conversation. Because if I did have that conversation in the house, people would kick me out.
Lash out.
I was literally gonna lash out. So I would lash out in the snow for like 30 minutes. Sometimes I would walk from the house to Shoppers Drug Mart, shouting at God, telling him that you need to get it together, God.
Like, this thing has to work. Like, I have to get that job. I have to
And my degree was, that's when I remember I failed the class and I wasn't going to school for a whole semester and I didn't tell anybody. So God and I were really on another level of anger. It was giving divorce kind of vibe.
And those are things that people don't, like.
And my homestay
Openly
family is
talk
so
about.
religious. Like, there's no time to stop going to church.
Dude!
Until I said one morning to my homestay dad, like, I respect him so much. And then they knocked on my door, like, are you coming to? I was like, no. As soon as I left, I was like, God, you keep this up, I keep this up.
Yeah.
It's eye to eye. I'm not even giving you my cheek. We're just going to be.
Who knows? You see, what's the point? What's the point of going to church? What's the point of praying? I prayed. You couldn't save the person I love the most. You said, God, I am hurting. You hurt me. Like, it's like an ouch, God, you hurt me.
Yeah.
Ouch, God, I'm hurting. You know, but I got strength from my mom. I was like, okay, he's my dad. But in as much as he's my dad, this person is your husband.
They were married to her.
And like everyone was grown, so everyone is pretty much out of the house. It was just my mom and my dad, and they had the best time of their lives. It was just the two of them. So I'm like, the emptiness. I'm like, how could you do this to my mom? Like, what has my mom done to deserve this? What has she done? I was like, it would be better. They might divide in the wheelchair. He might not talk, but as long as he's there.
Exactly.
You know, like, why would you hurt me this much? Like, I literally said, ouch, God, it hurts. You need to stop. And we would have conversations. Like, I would.
So did it stop hurting right away, or it kept going? Like, did God keep driving you?
So you know what? The other thing is, like, I stopped making plans with people. Like, I stopped making plans with my friends. Because, like, you don't know the mood that day. Like, I remember there's another day when the beach artists were supposed to come home. And I said, initially I wanted to lie and say, guys, I have an emergency at work, I'm not able to, so can you guys come another day? But I openly said, guys, I cannot host you from an empty place.
And if you know Yolanda, you know that, I'm not saying she's never empty, but she's accommodating. Like, whatever happens, she's got space. And even if it feels physical, but if you're walking into someone's space, you're also walking into their heart.
You do.
So that was really, I didn't know how to take that. So I remember, I was just like, I remember saying, Lord, can you just make it okay for her, whatever she's going through? And then I went to bed because I knew that it was an honest answer.
It was.
Because once Yolanda says, I'm empty, she's empty.
Like, it's a roller coaster.
It's different from me. If I say I'm empty, sometimes it's fake, but I don't want.
But then, like, you know, let's talk about the emotions, because it's something that people don't, like, guys, there are days when you wake up and you don't, like, you wake up, you're okay. And then there are days, the other days when you wake up and you're like, I don't want to see anyone. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want any visitors.
And it's okay.
And then there are days when you're just like, I don't want to call anyone. I don't want to text anyone. I don't want anyone to call me. I'm not picking up my phone. So you could literally be next to your phone. It will ring, but you just don't have the strength.
I guess that's the power of having people who understand around.
True. That is so
because
true.
It'll just be a mess, guys. If people didn't understand,
like, the number of plans I cancelled, came up with 1,000 excuses because I was in my feels. Like, you wake up in the morning, you're okay. In the afternoon, you come across something that triggers your emotions, and it just makes it to a whole
it's like
day.
up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
It's never linear.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing about grief, is that it's not linear.
It's not, and you become direct. Like, you become, like, a cash talk. Like, not in a mean way, in a very loving way, but also it's like you understand that you've no time. So you have no time to be dilly-dallying and battering
And
people.
you that's when you implement so much change. I remember
So much.
I got to be so fit. I got to be very direct. I was able to communicate in a way that's like, hey, if I wanted something from somebody, like, I was very direct. I was not beating about the bush, because back then we had the cover of our dad. He had to be direct for us.
Right.
But now we have to do it by ourselves, and there's no time even. Like, people die. I remember when I was looking into making, like, just anything. Even, I guess that's what makes us even different. Like, we're trying to do events for the whole group. One person I know who follows through is Rulimbo, because she understands what we've been through. She's been through that too. But we're trying to get everyone together, because time is so short, guys. Even if you're upset with the person, love them. Like, hold room for them. One thing about me is I'll get upset with you,
But you still have room.
but I still have room to love.
I really love that.
Because if we throw someone away, then tomorrow they're gone, then what? That's a forever thing. It's done forever. We're not coming back. Like, I always remember, like, with my dad, that $70, guys, I regret it so much. Because like to me it's nothing. I could have. Do you know how much I spent on the burial? I spent the whole paycheck I was holding on the burial, and then I was like, I was working overtime. I was overworking myself. Going, oh, I'm gonna be still flying in January.
And then what?
Is this still recording?
Already in the video?
Yeah, I'm recording. Yeah, Yolanda, I think we're doing it.